And I was thinking about this as I walked around the cancer center today. I mean, just think back to Jefferson's time, to Jenner's time, or even to Snow and Whitehead's time. Think of the reality of that world back then, 150 years ago, 200 years ago. The average life expectancy was in the low 40s. Diseases like smallpox and cholera were rampant. The experience as a parent of losing a child to one of these diseases, one of the most heart-wrenching things you can possibly imagine, that was a commonplace event. It was a fact of everyday life that parents would lose their children. And now, fast forward to today, and those of us living in the United States at least, everyone in this room, smallpox and cholera haven't been part of our experiences at all. And for my generation, something like polio hasn't been part of my experience my entire life. And when I think about it, when we look at what we've seen projected, when my young boys are old enough to start thinking about having their own families, God help us all, they may well, or their kids may well look back at cancer in the same way that we now think about smallpox and cholera. That's an extraordinary thing just in 150 years or 200 years. That's a story of progress that's been driven by innovations. And if that does in fact happen, I think it's possible we may look back at an image like this as one of the key kind of symbols of one of the key breakthroughs that led to that cancer-free future. This is an image I saw for the first time today, walking around, and added it at the last minute to my deck because I was so transfixed with it. It looks really actually like it should be a work of art hanging in this museum. It's actually aesthetically quite extraordinary. It should be up next to a Rothko or something like that. But in fact, this is a work of science or a work of the scientific imagination. And it's showing a slice of a tumor, and the illuminated spots are either cancer cells or cells of the immune system. And you can see, in one sense, this battle going on between these two different forces. In one section, the immune system is winning out, and the other tumor, it's not. And this is the ability to kind of visualize this is so central to the revolutionary promise and actuality of immunotherapy. And in a way, this is the kind of map. This is like John Snow map. John Snow map was able to see patterns in a city, in a neighborhood, that by looking at those patterns of lives and death basically distributed around a neighborhood, he was able to see the true nature of a disease, and by seeing that, imagine a way of fighting it. This is a different kind of map. It's a different kind of imagination, but I think it's ultimately going to be just as powerful. And that is the kind of imagination we are here to celebrate tonight. Apparently, at one point near the end of their investigation, John Snow turned to Henry Whitehead and said, "You know, in the future, diseases like this and epidemic outbreaks like this will be a distant memory." He had that kind of imagination. And it's this kind of imagination that we are here to support and encourage and celebrate. To imagine a world where we've finished off cancer for good, to imagine it, and to make it real. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ed.